What's up, people? Welcome to another edition of the New Breed Podcast, the world's best music podcast, talking about everything brutal, new death, hard, grind, slam, thrashcore, and metal. One half of your hosting duo, Jay Horsecow. With me, I have my partner in crime, the notorious TIM. Tim, how are you doing?
I'm doing great.
All right, good. That makes one of us. And joining us, we have a very special guest this week. We have Alex from Ashes Like Rain. Alex, thank you so much for hopping on.
Thank you guys so much for having me. This is amazing.
Oh no, we are honored to have you. So let's start with Tim. How did you find this band?
So I was editing some shows one night, and I always have YouTube on the background, checking out videos, blah, 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 blah. Something was over. You know how it says video starting?
Yep.
Yeah.
And it went to that. Who's the site that hosted your record?
It's Melomano Adicto.
Yeah.
Alvaro. Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah.
So that came up, and it was actually a different band. And I was like, oh, this is pretty chill and blah, blah, blah. It was a short EP. Then it went to the next one, which was Ashes Like Rain. And I had it playing in my headphones, and I'm writing out something on the edit. And then the chorus of the first song comes on. I'm like, hold on a second. I pause it. I go back. I put it on again. And I was like, dude, this is really fucking good, man.
Thank you, man.
Went through the EP. Dude, I was blown away, man. Seriously.
Thank you so much.
So that's why I got the text so late at night when you're like, yo, check this out. I'm like, yo, what is this guy doing up at like 3 a.m?
Yeah,
Jesus.
But yeah, no, you probably talk about how the algorithms are getting better and better. I mean, YouTube, Spotify, I mean, they're not as good as like TikTok, where it has you zoned in for like hours and you turn into a fucking
That's
turnip.
an addiction. That's an addiction by itself.
Legit,
Yeah, that's great.
legit. But I have found that the music that I've been getting fed, it'll be one or two things that I recognize, and then it'll be something that I really don't, that I like, that I'll go, oh, same thing. Hold on. What is this? And I'm like running through the house looking for my phone because my speaker's over here and the phone's over there.
Yeah,
it's good stuff. So Alex, let's start with geographically. Where are you from?
Ottawa, Canada.
Oh, okay. I thought you were Canadian. Okay,
Cold.
Perfect for me, sucks for Tim.
Is that where the accent comes from?
I mean, I'm Romanian.
Oh,
actually.
Okay.
Yeah. So I was born in Romania. I moved to Canada when I was 12 or 13.
Gotcha.
I can't remember. It was a long time ago now. And I had to learn both English and French at the same time.
Oh,
that was
brutal.
a bitch. That was
and I'm assuming you speak Romanian, right?
I do as well.
While Romanian and English may have a kind of loose Latin roots, there's a little bit of a difference. Little bit hard consonants.
Pretty much.
Right? Hard consonants and some of the throat glottal is a different. And you have to learn 100%. French, which is like the like too smooth and so, man, God bless you.
French for me, like English kind of came fast, to be honest with you. It kind of came fast. Plus I was listening to a lot of music, right? So I was kind of like analyzing lyrics. Like I remember when Meteora came out by Linkin Park. That was 2003. And that was before I came to Canada. I started to dive into like what's faint about, what's breaking the habit about. I was taking words and I would open up the dictionary and be like, okay, this is this is that. And then I would start to make sentences. And that's pretty much how it happened. French, it's tough. French is tough, my friend. French is a tough language to learn. Like really, if I'll go back in time right now, I mean, I don't have a choice because I'm in Canada and you kind of have to learn both languages. But French, it would be a pass for me. So many verbs, so many accents. When you have to write, there's so many rules to it. So I prefer English, but French, it's cool to know a lot of languages and it's fun. But French, man, it's a tough bitch. It's a tough motherfucker.
Since you're not from France, I can say this without it sounding really fucking rude, but every time I hear people like speak French on like say like a TV show, I'm like, oh God, it sounds rough, dude. It's a rough language, man.
Yeah, it's a lot of long vowels.
Yeah.
And so this is what happens when I can't sleep at 3 a.m. I end up in all these weird fucking places on the internet, like most people. And I came to learn that most of the languages in Europe, depending upon the terrain, their languages are totally different. And the best example would be, so my family is Czech by nature, right? So Serbian, Slovakian, right? Those type of Eastern European languages have a lot of heavy consonants, because you're trying to communicate across mountain ranges. So long O's, long U's, they don't sound right when your peaks and valleys. The echo will throw things off. So that's why a lot of those languages are harder consonants. Whereas French, to an extent, Spanish, Portuguese, Portuguese is smoother because you need to travel long distances without interruption. This is the weird kind of shit, man, I come across. It's either that or listen to it's either that or listen to the 5,000 things that Tim sends me that I don't get a chance to listen to. So let's talk about that, Alex. So you started out picking apart English from Linkin Park, right? You started to put together songs. What else from that era was piquing your curiosity? We're like, this is something else I got to dig into.
Man, Limp Bizkit, man. And I think that was the same time that Results May Vary came out, right? 02, 03.
Okay.
So that was, and I remember I was like, what, 9, 10? And I remember I had this buddy of mine. He was big into rock music. I was just getting into rock music because I used to listen to like Euro pop. It was super big back in the day, and like boy bands. I was a kid. So this guy was kind of like, yo, chick, Linkin Park. And I was like, man, this is cool. What else you got? And he was like, there's this band called Limp Bizkit. I was like, what music do they have? So he showed me Chocolate Starfish. He showed me some songs of Chocolate Starfish. I think it was probably My Way, My Generation, the big singles. Yeah. And then we discovered that they're about to release a new album. So we went and we bought the cassette. Still cassettes back in the day. The green, I think I still have it. I still like it in the storage or something. So we grabbed the cassette. I don't remember how expensive it was, but things were pretty pricey in Romania back in the day. We went back home. I had a big ass boombox. We put it in and we just walked around the neighborhood just blasting that. Old ladies would be like, you guys, what the fuck are you doing? It's just like, this is the new shit. This is the new shit. Eat You Alive came out. Like, it was crazy. So Linkin Park, Limp Bizkit, Korn. I think Korn came out with Did My Time around the same era. I think it was playing on some TV shows in Romania. What else? The Rasmus. I'm not sure. It's a Swedish band. I'm not sure. In the Shadows. They had this big song In the Shadows back in the day. Cold, Stupid Girl was blowing up around that time as well. Stained. I think Stained was dropping 13 Shades of Grey.
Yep.
Is it 13 Shades or? Yep. Or no, 15. I think it's 15 or 13. I can't remember the name of that album.
It's 14, isn't it?
It's 14. See, I tried 13, close. 15, then 14 in between. Yeah. So those were pretty much the bands that got me into. But Linkin Park was my first love, if that makes any sense when it comes to new metal. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, dude, that EP, man, it reminds me of everything I love about new metal around that era. I mean, it's because I said to Jay, I'm like, does he not sound like the dude from Taproot, or or am I just hearing things?
I love Taproot, but I love Taproot. Love. And they're coming out with a new album.
Yeah.
Love Taproot.
Yeah, your singing voice, man, just reminded me of that. And I was like, yo, this is like really fucking good, dude. Like, I listen to that thing a lot. Like, if your streams are at like 30K today, I'm probably 10K of them, I swear to God, dude.
You're probably all of them.
But the other part of it, Tim, is you can tell there's influence with bands of that era, but it's not a blatant ripoff, Alex. Like, it's not like, oh my God, here's the Linkin Park chorus, and here's the Stained bridge, and here's the Limp Bizkit, fade out. There's enough thrown in, and there's even that there's some super aggressive parts. Which I was like, oh, I wasn't expecting that, but that was a nice. Oh, okay.
A little twist.
Yeah.
Would it be fair to say
some modern flavor?
Yeah. Would it be fair to say that you've been listening to some gent recently and putting that kind of stuff in there?
100%. I mean, I not lately, I would say, but like Periphery it influenced me. Like, for example, back maybe a decade around ago, I was playing guitar in the band called Standing in Oblivion. I think we still have the EP somewhere on YouTube, and it was more like a progressive hardcore, kind of progressive metalcore type vibe. And around that time, Periphery was pretty much blowing up. Maybe they released Periphery 2 or something like that. And Velamaya, another band that I was really influenced by Velamaya, how they played the guitar. So 100% like, and it came with those like choppy rhythm type things. And it for me back in the day, sounded like nobody was doing that type of stuff.
Yeah.
And it kind of
polyrhythms.
Exactly. Yeah. And it stuck with me, even though like I'm a new metal kid. And I love, you know, your blind, for example, ba-da-na-na-na-na-na, da-da-da-da. This was different. I was like, they're tapping the fucking thing. They're moving up. They're using weird scales that nobody heard about. Like, what the fuck is this? And then I started to kind of learn how to play those stuff and kind of like adjust my playing into a more technical vibe, if that makes any sense. So 100% like Gent. I love Gent. You know, I don't listen to it as much because now I think we're going into the Polyphia era at the moment where it's a bit more melodic. But back in the day, it was you know, as somebody trying to get better at guitar, those guys were like heroes.
Another an album that everybody realizes is influential, but they don't realize how many genres it influenced was Chaosphere, right? They were the first band to throw out, hey, let's do some polymeters. Let's all play different time signatures, but we'll meet on the 30-second bar and it'll all just work out.
Pretty much. Yeah.
And Gent borrowed from that, Deathcore borrowed from that. A lot of your more modern stuff that's doing some goofy sound signatures. They showed what could be done, and I'm glad that it's cool to see a lot of different bands who are not in that genre take it and say, yeah, let's throw that over here. I was just reading an article about some guy who spent his entire career as like a rock musician lawyer, and he's writing a book on the history of rock and roll, and he talks about how one of the things that is lost in modern pop music is completely lost. Key changes. Yeah. How the second half of a song will change key. And the example he gives in the article, which I can hear it in my head and it does give you chills, he talks about Man in the Mirror from Michael Jackson, where he does that one chorus and then the gospel chorus comes in and they go a half a step up, and how it literally does. It sounds like you're being lifted off the planet, right? And he talks about how that's a cheat that most modern musicians don't even think about anymore, where you step it up a half, step it down a half, and you can change the total structure of the profile of the song without really making a lot of change, you know?
And it's just like it adds emotion to the whole thing. And I think you're talking about modern music, and for me, that's kind of like the thing that I'm a bit frustrated with how music is nowadays, is that a lot of bands and new bands is like nobody really uses emotion anymore. You know what I mean? Everybody uses the same 4 chords. And if you go on Spotify and you check the top 10, I'm not trying to be a hater, but if you go in the top 10 at the moment, 4 chords. Every song, it's 4 bars, 4 chords. It repeats. There's no bridge. The chorus is the exact same thing. The verse is the exact same thing. There's no ending to the song. It's just like it's a beat that just drags on and on. And I feel like that's what music needs nowadays. Key changes, a bit more of a progression when it comes to music, and just more emotion, man. Like music should be all about emotion. You're trying to, as an artist, you try to put something out there, not just, you know, an empty plastic bottle of whatever the fuck you want to do. That that's probably my biggest issue with music nowadays. But hopefully it's gonna change. I feel like it's changing. I kind of feel like it's changing, but we'll see.
Yeah, it gets very formulaic. Yeah,
it is. Yeah,
it's funny you say that, because Jay will tell you from all the episodes we've done, I am huge on people that can write a big chorus and a big bridge, because like you said, if you let's take this for example. If you go back to 1998 through like 2002 and you listen to any of the big metalcore bands back then, Seven Angels, Seven Plagues, Poison the Well, stuff like that, all of their songs had passion and emotion in it. And the songs were written very well. There was huge parts all the time. That's what stood out. These days, everyone wants to sound like As I Lay Dying or Killswitch Engage. Yep. It's the same. You 100%. Nailed that 100%. Everybody sounds exactly the same. Yep. And that's why every time a lot of people send me music, I go, generic.
I heard that shit before, man. There's not the same guitar tone, same snare sample. That fucking snare sample pisses me off. That big, whatever, 8x14 that everybody uses. Like, can we go back, use some piccolos? Use something different to cut through the mix a bit more. You know what I mean? The vintage 30 cabs. Man, it's anyhow. I can go on.
And if you're gonna rip somebody off, or if you're gonna play homage, right? Not even rip you off. I want to song you. If you're gonna pay homage to something, find something that's a little off the beaten path that you really enjoyed and use that. Or find something that might have had a moment, but it wasn't so popular in the zeitgeist, and use that. For example, Tim and I just did a reaction vid from a band from Japan, View from the Soyuz. They are,
check that out,
100%. As Hope Dies. Like they are As Hope Dies tribute band, right? You could put their EP and Legion's Battle with Faceless God up next to one of them. They would sound pretty good, pretty the same. But they're pulling from a band that probably has been forgotten to the sands of time. Only those of us that were around back then or who really were into it, like Nehemiah or some of that other stuff, you know, and this day, we remember it, but others don't. So if you're gonna pay homage, find something a little unique. You know?
Exactly. 100% agree with you. 100%. Or just like, and I feel like that's the whole thing with new metal nowadays is that there's this new genre that just came out from it's called new metalcore.
Yep.
And I think one band, it's Tala.
Yep.
It's a big band on YouTube, and I think the singer from that band, he does like this Haunted Lights vocal covers or something like that. Crazy band, like crazy, but you can see that they kind of inspire from that new metal. The drums sound different. They don't sound overproduced. The guitars sound raw. The bass has that like clicky, corny type sound when it just like hits you in the face, percussive. That's something that's cool because it's different. It's 100% different. You know, it's a sound that's, I don't want to say that's been dead for maybe 2 decades at this point, but it's fresh.
It has. Yeah.
Pretty much, you know?
Yeah.
But it's fresh. It's fresh. So, no, 100%. I 100% agree. Like, I think that's what music needs nowadays. We just need to switch it up a tiny bit. Like, we just need a bit of a difference.
Yeah, find some new inspiration. So let's talk, Alex. We talked about Linkin Park and how you started to understand English and started to put together lyrics. When did you first pick up a guitar?
I think it was when I moved to Canada, maybe 06, 07. I think it was 06. Yeah, and I think I was begging my parents. I wanted to be a drummer. That was my first love, man. I love drums. But my dad was just like, drums, we cannot switch them off. We were living in a small apartment. Like, there's not a lot of space. So I was just like, okay, drums are off. I'm just going to try the guitar. And Wes Borland from Limp Bizkit, he was a super huge influence. I used to love the whammy stuff. So I was just like, okay, if I cannot be John Otto, I'm gonna be Wes Borland, right?
Okay.
So, yeah, so that was kind of the idea. So my dad bought me this like really cheap, maybe $50. It was like a Fender type Strat with a small amp that had barely any distortion. It was just like a clean channel with like a really push overdrive, whatever. A strap, some picks, a really bad cable, and that was it, man. And I remember the guitar was not even in tune.
You started out on the Fender starter pack.
That's what
I started out on. Yep.
And I think it was called Acústica. That was maybe it was a Quebec from like a French, whatever. And that was named, but that was it. It was a Strat starter pack where you have like all the picks and all the stuff. Anyhow. And my guitar was not in tune because I had no idea how to tune a fucking guitar. So, and I had no friends playing the guitar. So I remember I was playing, instead of playing normal chords, I had to play them in a weird stretchy way to get the fifth, like the power chord. Looking back, that kind of helped me because it kind of built more dexterity. You know what I mean? But I think for a whole year, that's how I was playing guitar. I didn't know how to change strings. Thank God I never broke a string in the first place. You know, the guitar was kind of the same as it was, but like that was it. So I would say it was probably 06, 07. That was around the time. So, I mean, now it's been a long time ago for sure.
Yeah. It's funny that you had to play like that. And what you just said, like your dexterity is better now because you're used to stretching all the way with your fingers. And now it's like nowadays you're like, oh shit, I can do that because that's how I learned it.
Yeah. And especially when you're a kid, you know, it's a lot easier to pick up, to learn, you know, a language or an instrument. So it kind of helped me, you know, I was probably 13 when I started, 13, 14, something like that. So it really helped me, you know, I was, man, looking back, that was crazy. It was really, really fun to learn. And funny thing, I think my dad has a picture. I was playing with a glove because my fingers were aching. You know, like your little pads.
The calluses weren't there yet.
Oh, man. So my dad was just like, what are you doing? I was like, I cannot play the fucking thing. I need to play with a glove. So he took a picture of me and I think he still has it. So that's pretty much how it started. Like, yeah. So it was fun. It was really fun.
So on the record, I know it's Everything Is You, right?
Yeah. From mixing to mastering to, from 0 to 10. Yeah.
Dude, I'm fucking seriously, I'm seriously impressed with how good it sounds and just the musicianship on there. Like, dude, seriously impressive, man.
Thank you so much. It was a challenge, really a challenge, but I I kind of took it as a challenge. I was like, I have nobody to play with around my area because once again, I don't want to bash nobody, but everybody's doing the exact same thing. Nobody wants to push boundaries. So I was like, if you don't want to play, you don't want to start nothing, no, I'm just gonna do it myself. I'm just gonna, and it helped me because around the same time that I picked guitar, I also picked up mixing.
Okay.
And how to record stuff. So I kind of grew up with both at the same time. So it kind of helped me to also learn how to mix, how to process a snare sound, or how to properly record a mic, how to mic a cab. So that was helpful, but doing everything alone, it's very time consuming.
Definitely.
Very, very time consuming, and that was probably the biggest challenge of this project was there was days where I was just like, I don't feel like it. I'm tired. I have to sing vocals and I can't, I just spend 4 hours, 5 hours tracking guitar last night. I need a break. And times goes by, and we were during the pandemic at that time. That's pretty much when I did the whole project, the last year of the pandemic. So it took me a whole year to do 6 songs pretty much, excluding like some B-sides that that didn't really make the album. But it's a long time to do an album. 1 year, it's a long time. So that's kind of the downside of being, I guess, a one-man kind of project. But thank you so much. I appreciate it. And again, like, I want to thank everybody because a lot of people messaged me and they were like, are you guys going to do something more? And I'm just like, I was always saying the word guys, and I took it as the biggest compliment. I was like, this is crazy that people think that this is actually a band playing. So, you know what I mean? For me, is the biggest compliment. Honestly, is the biggest.
It's funny you say that.
You should
because,
be proud, man.
Yeah,
Seriously.
you really should.
Thank you
I
so
was
much.
listening today on the way back from Philly, and I'm going, is this a one-man band? No, this is too good for a one-man. But wait a minute. I'm pretty sure Tim said this is a one-man, and I didn't remember because I was driving and I didn't pick up my phone, but I was convinced it was a full band. And then I got home and I started looking, I'm like, oh no, it was one guy. And then I went, wow. I mean, and you said it took you a year, but it took you a year to record 5 instruments, mix, master. Like that's the next time is not going to take a year. The next time is going to take 7 months. And the time after that, it's going to be even quicker because now you've got the rhythm, right? I mean,
and you kind of have the templates down, Yeah.
Let me guess, your space bar is worn out from hitting it so many times from fucking
Bro,
up.
I switched like 5 keyboards during the recording process.
Yeah, man.
Not just because they went out, because I was pissed. Because I was pissed.
You're right.
Yeah, I was like, because pretty much, again, you have to do everything yourself. So sometimes I would forget to press record. So I would play this guitar part, be like, it's perfect. Then I look up, nothing has been recorded.
Motherfucker. Yeah.
Motherfucker. And that space bar, that's my enemy.
Pounding on it. Yep.
Oh,
Dude,
it's done.
All
it's
about
game
it,
over.
I can't even imagine how frustrating that is. I can't even imagine.
So drum wise, I'm assuming you program them.
It was programmed, with samples that I recorded actually myself.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so it's a mix of hybrid, analog, if you will, whatever. And I have a good friend of mine that's actually a drummer. He has an amazing sound collection of like a drum collection, snares, kicks, and stuff like that. And I went actually over to his place. I mocked everything up with like a 57, some KM 184, some Neumanns, just to kind of get the whole setup with the room ambience and stuff like that. So some
like
of
a condenser, you mean?
Yeah, like a condenser microphone.
Okay.
Yeah, and that's kind of like there's a bunch of samples in the drumming that are actually live recorded samples to kind of give it more of that like human feel.
Yeah,
So
they sound natural, man.
That was the thing that kept fucking me up because I'm going, wait a minute, this is a one-man. No, it's not. Listen to the drums. No, but I was completely confused.
Yeah. It's the samples. They make a huge difference. Like I remember when I took them off just to listen to like what I was using for the drums. It felt not fake, but it felt more plastic, if that makes any sense. Yeah. And the moment that I would re-engage the samples, I was like, okay, now it feels like a real drum. So it's a huge difference between a real recorded sample and actually, all your Addictive Drums, Superior Drummer, GGD. There's so many brands nowadays that kind of have those libraries of drums, and they all sound amazing. But there's that 10% that's still missing, in the sound. So yeah, it's a mix of both. Definitely a mix of both.
Yeah, I think people's problem is they go in with Superior and they don't realize that the drums are already processed and they throw their own processing on it, and then it sounds way fake and over compressed. When
100%.
all you really have to do is maybe EQ them a tiny bit, give it a little brick limiter, and you're good to
Yep.
go.
100%. 100%. And I feel like everybody kind of uses the exact same EQ techniques because there's so many people now that kind of do those tutorials on YouTube. So it's easy
Drop
for
the
you.
high pass and you're good.
Exactly. Or you kind of boost the highs on the snare and you kind of boost it at 200 hertz to kind of get that beefy kind of snare sound, whatever. And everybody's kind of copying the exact same presets. And everybody's using the exact same Superior Drummer drum kit, for example, and everybody ends up sounding the same.
Exactly.
It's that's pretty much the gist of it. But no, like you said, there's just this I don't know, like everything sounds so clear nowadays. It's pristine. But once everything sounds clean, there's that human feel that's not there anymore.
Lost. It's completely lost. Yeah.
You know what I mean? So I think that's kind of the only difference between still having a real drummer that can actually play and still using plugins that sound amazing, but you have to think about it that 10,000 people or 20,000 other people are going to use the exact same drum kit as you do. So how can you make it different? Like you said, try to tweak a few things here and there, not over process it. A bit of EQ, and then keep it as raw as possible and natural. But that's a different story, a whole different spiel.
A lot of people don't know how to use a compressor. They just, like you said, they look at a YouTube tutorial and they go, oh, I should just put this makeup gain up a lot and it sounds a lot better. But in the end, it really takes all the life away from it.
Yeah, when it's compressed, it sounds not tinny, but it sounds almost mechanical. The best example, I think they purposely do things differently. If you go back to grab any death metal, thrashy death metal album over the last couple of years, throw it in, and then throw in the last Origin album. I think they mix purposefully at a lower volume because they don't over compress it. To really get volume, I gotta crank that fucker. And if I crank it all the way up, I literally have John Longstreth blast beating my eardrums. So I think they're one of the bands that they don't over compress and mix it so loud, which you need some range.
You do,
right? You need some range in the music. If it comes in and you go, the speakers go to 11. If they're set at 3 and it comes in and it sounds like it's a 10 already, well, where the hell are you going to go? And then you get louder and it just distorts. And
and the reason for that is because they're a bass heavy band. They want the bass to cut through the mix. So
and that's the other thing. When you turn it up, you hear it's not all guitar and drums. It's not vocals like off to the side. It is very full. And you're right, the bass is very, very prevalent, which is, I'm thinking about you learning how to play in tune on an out of tune guitar. And, that introduced a different way of thinking. I was thinking about Tim Austin from Orthodox, who plays left-handed, learned on a right-handed guitar. And it's just more natural for him to be the strings being the wrong way because that's how he learned, which is kind of bonkers to think about.
It's original,
right?
It's an original take on the instrument. And I think, there's so many. Jimi Hendrix, I think, was probably the first one that he had to invert his headstock, or he was left-handed, something like that. So again, it kind of changes the way that you see the instrument. And I feel like that's such an amazing thing because it creates an original sound that you can easily embrace and push forward to kind of create something that nobody did before. You see chords differently. You see melodies differently. You see like the way that you approach sound is different. And I think that's amazing.
There are definitely some really inventive guitarists, even through history, right?
Yeah.
That do things that it resets what everyone's expectation. I mean, Jimmy Page hand carved that.
Beautiful.
Not Jimmy Page, Brian May from Queen hand carved his guitar
with
from
his
a fireplace mantle, right? They found it in an abandoned house. Whether you like them or not, Van Halen. Eddie Van Halen scalloped his fretboard. He scooped the mids out. He was throwing all sorts of different pickups in there.
Yeah.
He was just fucking around trying to find something different. And look, he influenced an entire generation of guitarists just by doing something, just by trying something different. Tom Morello.
5150, man. The 5150. 5150. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, that's everybody uses that.
Yeah.
It don't matter if it's a 6505, it's the same fucking circuit. It's just a different name because PV wouldn't let them, have the trademark anymore or whatever. Yeah. It's the same shit. So
and then you said Tom Morello, and I want to let you continue because I have a huge crush on Tom Morello. So
I mean, the stuff he does. Think about the first time you heard People of the Sun. where he's playing with an Allen key, or
Yeah,
even some of the
crazy.
stuff he did on the self-titled album, right?
Mhm.
You're a big fan, right? Wes Borland.
Wes
Wes
Borland.
Borland and his
Yeah.
whammy bar usage. I just came across an interesting interview with him where he was like, dude, it came with my first guitar. I really didn't know what I was doing, but I found that I could do some fun stuff with it that didn't sound like everybody else. Like,
Yeah.
there are some really amazing guys out there who, again, find a new take on an old instrument.
Yeah. 100%.
And you don't
100%.
have to like completely reinvent the wheel.
100%, 100%. And the whammy thing again with Tom Morello, you know, he kind of the whammy pedal, you know, the red pedal that kind of does like
Yep.
the squeals. Once again, everybody uses that nowadays.
Mm-hmm.
You had
Oh,
a
the
Muir
drop
back in
pedal.
the day.
Yeah.
Or the drop pedal, exactly.
Yeah.
You know, you don't want to tune your guitar. Your guitar is already in drop A. You put that fucking sucker in, and you go down to drop Z or drop Q. God knows what tunings we have nowadays. You know what I mean? So the whammy, again, they started the whole whammy, and now people are doing it. The whammy bar, and this is a thing I was talking with a friend of mine maybe a few days ago, and we were talking about polyphia. And you know, polyphia, they use a lot of the whammy to kind of create those flutter effects.
Yeah.
If you go back to Wes Borland, that's everything that he was doing. My generation, the you know, the little flatter thing on the
Yep.
whammy, the channel from the Unquestionable Truth Part 1 back in 05, same thing. That little trick that you know, that just creates that little like kind of like that flutter effect. Again, influenced by those guys that kind of created something different and something new at that time. And it's beautiful to see that they're kind of like making it their own way, but we have to kind of pay respect
Yeah.
to where it started.
Yeah.
Definitely.
We don't have to forget about that ever.
And Tim, I always think about that. We interviewed Lance. We've actually had him on twice. Lance from Down the Sun, where he talked about that first album. They didn't have 7 strings, so they were tuned so low they had to stop after
No
15, 20 minutes of playing and retune, because he's like, dude, our strings were like falling off our instruments because that's how they got it that low. And it's you know, it's like slapping spaghetti. I'm like, Jesus, dude.
When all you had to do is just make the string gauges bigger and you would have been fine.
Yeah, right. Play a
Or that,
piano
or
wire or
that.
something like that,
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
Yeah,
Right.
right.
But
So-
you go on, Tim. Go on.
The other thing that caught my eye about the record when it was on the screen was the album cover. So
Mhm.
tell us a little bit about that if you don't mind.
I mean, it's
You don't have to if you don't want to.
I mean, it's not. I guess like once again, I never really intended the album to have a kind of like a concept album meaning, if you will. And then I had a lot of people again messaging me about the album, you know, as you know, as being a concept album. I was just like, I never really thought of that, you know. And it kind of came with the cover art and kind of the last song and kind of like that outro from the 5th track, Kennel, which they're kind of, I mean, the album as a whole, it's a lot about addiction.
Okay.
I'm not gonna deny that fact. It's a lot about addiction. And I had a good friend of mine that unfortunately passed away from heroin. And that was kind of like something that it really stuck with me for a while. You know, I kind of like, I was dragging a lot of dead skin with me. And I was just like, I need to do something about it because I need to kind of free myself from those thoughts. I was like, I'm just going to put it into music. And, you know, drug addiction, it's still a taboo kind of subject when it comes to it, you know. And now in Canada, we're kind of making a lot of strides forward with in Vancouver, for example, where I think they legalized cocaine, meth, and heroin. You can actually go and you can get like little like bottles, I guess, if you're an addict, without going into the street and buying all the crap that you have today, and you're probably gonna fucking die off that. You know, and again, in Canada also, we have everybody smokes weed now because it's legal, you know. So that was kind of the idea behind it. But again, like I said, it was like I never really intended it to be. But the moment that I kind of took the picture, because I took the picture of the album cover, you know, I was like, the songs are kind of about that. This kind of like it's also okay. Funny thing, when I did it, I thought about Tormented by Stained.
Okay.
Because when you see that album cover, it kind of makes you be like, I want to click on that in a way. So it was kind of like I'm gonna do something kind of weird in a way that's probably gonna grab your attention. But the biggest reason behind it is because a lot of songs are about that subject. So I was like, if I can capture that into an image, that would be pretty cool to have that as the album cover. But after that, like I said, it kind of, a lot of people kind of came up with the idea that it's a concept album, and I never really intended it to be that, even though there's a bunch of songs that are about that on the album. So yeah.
Right. It was thematically consistent. So at that point, thinking about it as a term of a concept album, which it's kind of wild that they were the thing that everybody did that nobody did. Now it's starting to come back again, which is kind of cool. I mean, it shows you have a thought, but no, I was really, really happy listening. I was like, man, this is really fucking good. I'm like, wait, it's a one guy? No, it's not one guy. It's definitely one guy. It's not one guy. I went back and forth.
Did you doing the song like when you completed the record? Were you like fulfilled with it? Like, all them thoughts that you put into it and all the anger and shit that you put into the record. Were like you fulfilled after that? Like you're like, all right, I did it.
100%. Yeah, 100%. Yeah, it felt like I had kind of like the monkey off my back, if that makes any sense.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah. I was just like, it felt like I had a baby. Like it felt like I had a baby, and I was like, now I'm just gonna put it out, into the world and see kind of what people think about it, But just to kind of put all those emotions as thoughts into songs and kind of just contain them forever, pretty much in those songs, it kind of allowed me from now on to kind of move forward and kind of try different stuff and talk about different subjects, because I'm not gonna do the exact same thing 20,000 times and write about the exact same shit. You know what I mean?
Right.
There's probably going to be periods in my life where I'm probably going to have, hopefully not, another friend that might suffer from an issue, from a drug overdose or God knows what. That's probably going to inspire me. But there's so much going on that you can write about. I just don't want to be stuck in that bubble forever,
Right.
So
get into
by doing those
rut.
songs, by doing those songs, I'm just like, now I can let go. In a way, and I can kind of move forward, and I'm super happy with it. It sounds kind of the way that I wanted it, raw, not overproduced, but enough that it sounds clean. That's it. The moment that I finished the master, I was like, I'm not touching this shit ever again. I'm done with this shit. I'm done. I'm done. So I sent it to Alvaro from El Humano Adicto. I was like, hey, this is kind of my project. If you like it, maybe put it on your channel. And pretty much that's how it started. So. Yeah.
So did you know him previously? How did you two get connected?
Yeah. Well, I'm a super huge fan of his channel. Like that's pretty much how. Yeah. So I was looking for like underground new metal bands, and I think the first one, it was Stepa. I heard Stepa on his channel. I was like, man, what the fuck is this? This is amazing. And then he started. I subscribed to his channel, and he was starting to put more albums out. I was just like, okay, that's a band I never heard about before. That's a band that I never knew it existed in the underground new metal thing. And I was just like, man, this is really cool stuff. This is really, really amazing music. And we started to chat. He had a Discord for a while. I'm not sure if it's still active, but we kind of called each other a couple of times and we spoke and stuff like that. And he's a big fan of music. And I think he plays in a few bands as well because he's from Peru, right? So yeah, they have their own kind of rock culture there, and I think it's pretty big. So he plays in a few bands. He's a drummer. He plays guitar as well, and I think he also like sings and screams. So that's pretty much how it was. Like I was a big fan of his channel. I had this project. I was like, hey man, like if ever you like it, just give it a try. If you don't like it, you don't have to put it. Like I'm not gonna take it as an offense, like an offensive kind of thing. You can tell me it. So that's what I told him. Actually, I think I have the email. I was like, please tell me it fucking sucks. Like that, I can go to bed and I can sleep. I was just right. Sucks. Don't put it out. I don't care. But he was really like, man, this is great. It would be a pleasure, and that was it. That was pretty much it.
There's something to be said about those YouTube channels that pop up that find a unique niche. And they almost take it over. Like another comparison would be Has Sub. Right? Yes. Has Sub. They have everything, and they're always finding this obscure new metal. I'm like, yo, crazy, where did you find this?
I don't know. I want to know as well. Where the fuck?
I had some old obscure New Jersey stuff, and I thought I kept it. And when I got rid of my CDs, I got rid of it. And I'm like, okay, I know I'm going to be old when this shit starts showing up. Because it was the Jenkos and Wife Beaters and Two Singers. And I'm like, I got to find this. But there's a lot out there. I mean, it really kind of wild.
It is. It is. There's so much music that again we never knew about, and it's really cool that, and it kind of like it takes you back in time, you know, because if you listen from
Mhm.
something from '99 and you just listen to it now, it's still it's new because I never heard it before.
Yep.
I know it's 2 decades ago, but it still feels fresh to me because I never, I think there's this band that I discovered not long ago, and I think it's called Sound Hook or Hook Sound. I think it's Hook Sound.
Okay.
Really, really nasty new metal. Like this is nasty. And those guys were playing in drop G in 99, 2000.
So they were doing the Chimera thing.
Pretty much. Like
Yeah.
the lowest I remember was probably Mike from Stained. He was playing in drop A flat. But those guys took it even lower. I was just like, somebody actually played in 99, 2000 in drop G. It blew my mind. I was like, nobody knew about those guys. And now everybody plays in drop G and drop F. So I'm just like, okay, I can kind of see a pattern here. You know what I mean? So
Pass Out of Existence was drop G and 7-string.
Yeah, that's
Jesus.
low, man. That's low. That's low. I mean, I have my limits when it comes. I mean, the lowest I have 2 baritones, and I have one in drop A that 3 songs on the EP are actually in drop A, and the other 3 are in drop C sharp.
Oh,
but I have one that I use in drop A flat, and that's the
okay.
lowest I can go.
Wow.
Man. Like anything lower than that, I'm just like, for me, there's the bass. The bass exists. There's a bass guitar.
Right.
I don't want to replace that. You know what I mean? So for me, that's the limit.
Yeah. When I
flat,
said
that's
that
it.
wrong. I'm sorry. Some of the songs are in drop G. Most of them are drop A, on that Chimera record.
Drop A. Okay. Yeah.
Like the
I mean,
song Rizzo with that Steph wrote from the Deftones is in drop G. I know that for a fact because I covered that on my YouTube for the hell of it. Because that's like one of my favorite songs ever. So I was like, let me fuck with this song.
Yeah.
And I did it, and I was like, God damn, my strings are fucking flapping in the wind, dude.
Yes, I think like the Deftones. I mean, now he plays what, a 9-string, A-string.
Yeah,
like
he's
that on the new stuff.
He's on a different planet, literally.
Someone was
Crazy.
breaking his balls on Instagram the other day, and he was like, they were like, dude, what are you gonna have, a 12-string by the next 3 albums? And he's like, I'm not going any more than 9. Don't worry about it. I'm like, thank God, dude. Like after a while, the fucking headstock, like how do you even play on that?
I don't know how you guys get your hands around it, right?
Yeah.
It's like it's like trying to get your hand around a telephone pole, right? And that's why when you see the guys in the videos, their fingers are like this because their thumb is like just barely holding on.
Yeah.
It's wild,
hilarious, dude.
Wild.
It's crazy.
So let me ask you this, Alex, as far as like modern stuff, is there anything modern that you're listening to that catches your ear? Some of the, I mean, you obviously have expansive taste. So anything new that you've caught up lately, you're going, I think people should check this out.
For sure. And I think there's a band that you guys did an interview, Downer. I think you guys
Drowner.
did an interview. Drowner.
Yeah.
Actually, there's a band called Downer, and there's a band called Drowner as well. And I think I have them both on my Spotify. But there's this band that's called A Sky So Black.
Oh hell yeah, I love that shit. Jay, I
Amazing.
meant to send that to you. It's really good.
Okay.
Yeah, amazing music.
It's all one word, Jay.
Okay,
Yeah,
got it.
A Sky So Black.
Yeah.
Fleshwater.
Hell yeah.
Deftones kind of.
I saw Fleshwater in a concert flyer, and it said "Vain for Adults." And I was like, okay.
Yeah, it's funny you say that because that was me and Jay's favorite records last year. That record's incredible, man.
Yeah. Crazy. And the album cover as well, like when I saw it, was just like, again, it kind of took me by surprise to kind of hear the music. And I think I heard some demos that they did, but really, really cool. Spirit Box from Canada, from Vancouver, they really blowing up. Really
they are from Canada. That's right.
Yeah.
Was is that I Wrestled a Bear Once? Was that their previous band?
I think so. Yeah. I think so. Yeah.
I think them and Lorna Shore were the bands that came out of the pandemic best because they were just weird enough that they were outside the mainstream, that people were paying attention. That song Holy Roller came out of nowhere and blew the fuck up. And then you had Will Ramos from Lorna Shore cover it on YouTube. And then they had something new come out. Those are the 2 bands I think that came out of the pandemic absolutely on fire.
Yeah. I mean, the sound quality of the production is amazing.
Yeah.
It sounds huge, fat, everything. It's the guitars sound crazy. They're amazing, man. What else?
Me and Jay were supposed to see Spirit Box, and of course we get there and they fucking Limp Bizkit cancels like 5 minutes after we get there.
What
it was the Spirit Box Limp Bizkit tour.
It was the Limp Bizkit tour that they bagged early.
Okay.
Because they never said why. Obviously, somebody tested positive. Obviously,
Yeah.
somebody, if not in the band, in the crew. But yeah, we got down to the end there. We were all set up, and it was terrible. Did anybody catch that Bill Maher interview with Fred Durst? Did anybody listen to it?
No,
I haven't even
no, no,
Bill
no, no.
Maher
listen to
has a podcast where it's
Oh,
basically
man.
just him sitting around getting high and talking shit. And he has Fred Durst on it. And Fred Durst actually made a really interesting remark where he said, I purposely they were asking, he was asking about Bill Maher was asking about the resurgence of Limp Bizkit and how like it is now way front and center in the culture.
Mhm.
And he asked Fred, does it surprise that? And Fred said, it's kind of funny when we play shows. I ask everybody how many people here are under 30. And he's like, 3/4 of the audience raised their hand. And then I'll say, how many of you are seeing Limp Bizkit for the first time? And he goes, the majority of the audience is raising their hand. He goes, I guess our fans are older. Maybe they don't listen to his music anymore. But he said, what did he say? He said, we don't market. We don't sell merch. He said, I wanted to see how our music would do in the current culture without the constant push. And it definitely says something about them that they're still making videos. Their tours are still, I saw the AC date. It was jam packed.
Yeah.
I mean, it says something that they're not really, I don't want to say whoring because it's insulting to the bands because you have to be, nobody's going to do marketing but you. You have to do your own marketing, but
100%.
They don't beat the bushes like some other bands do. They're just kind of doing their thing. And look, I mean, the response is fantastic. I'm trying to talk Tim into going to see him with me at Bamboozle. $100 to see Limp Bizkit is kind of pricey because there's not much else playing that day. That's good, but I think I'm still going to do it. Fuck it, I got nothing else to do.
Plus, I think you guys are lucky because there's like 3 huge concerts coming up, right? Like rock. I forgot the names. What's the name of the concerts? A Brand New World, is that one of them?
Brave New World.
Yeah, the
Sick New World.
The same weekend is Sick New World. It's the metal, what's it called? The Milwaukee Metal Fest that Jamie Jost is doing. It's the metal at the Metal in the Harbor, or No One Escapes Alive, whatever that metal show in the harbor that's meant to replace the Maryland Death Fest. We've got Adjacent coming up. We've got Bamboozle coming up.
This is hardcore.
This is hardcore. There's a whole lot.
Yeah, you guys are lucky. That's one thing that I think we're missing over here.
Do you get a lot, Alex, that comes through?
Not as much. I mean, the last huge concert I saw, Rage Against the Machine, last year. Came at Blues Fest. Yeah.
Is Ottawa on the west side of Canada?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm so unfamiliar with places in Canada, so don't mind me.
It's funny, every time we have a Canadian band, Tim's like, okay, the right or the left.
Yeah.
So I know where Toronto is, and I know where Vancouver is, and everything else is just Canada.
I mean, one of my top 3 artists of all time is from Canada. I know that. So Devin Townsend, I know he's in Vancouver, but I'm like, I don't know where the hell that's at.
Yeah.
It's all the way
It's
west.
Far from here. It's really far from where I'm at. That's one thing. Is really far.
So Vancouver's like all the way on the west, right?
Vancouver is comparable to Seattle and Portland. It's
Pretty
all
much.
the way it's on the Pacific.
Yeah.
It's on the Pacific.
Yep. Pretty much.
And so you would be what, like right in the middle of that?
Kind-ish. I mean, I have to take the plane, for example, to go. You're not going to drive there, for example.
So I'm going to describe it for you, Tim. If you go straight up from where we are, right? Toronto is basically straight ahead of us.
Okay.
To the west of Toronto is Ottawa.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then there's that giant expanse of Manitoba, Saskatchewan, Alberta, the trench guys, right?
Gotcha.
Calgary, Winnipeg. And then you're in British Columbia, which is Vancouver. But it's that middle stretch, right? Where there is not like
barren
when we
wasteland.
interviewed Cole
Pretty
from
much.
Trench, and he was like, yeah, we just get in the van and you'll drive for a day and a half and you haven't even hit the venue yet. It's like
that's pretty much what it is. That's pretty
There's
much
moose
what
in
it
the
is.
road and shit.
Exactly.
Dude, if I walked out my door and I seen a bear, I'm shitting myself. I'm sorry.
Right, there's a bunch of them here, man.
Yeah, fuck
Dude,
that.
People don't realize how
Bunch
big
of them.
moose are. They're like, oh, it's like a deer. No,
man.
No. It's like a deer elephant size. They're enormous.
Yeah.
Let me ask you this.
Yeah.
Compare. So where you're at now compared to Romania, how like is it a culture shock when you move from like I'm assuming moving from Romania to Canada is a huge culture shock.
Oh, 100%. Yeah, night and day. I mean, language aside, I mean, I don't really want to talk shit about my native country, because I can probably keep you guys here for 2 hours. I'm not gonna do that. But it's just like people here are like a lot nicer, if that makes any sense.
Gotcha.
People were very welcoming when we arrived, and I think it's really impressive for people that, as somebody that doesn't speak English and French, you learn both languages or you learn one of the languages, and you try to kind of, be a part of the society, if that makes any sense. You know
Yeah.
what I mean?
Mhm.
And even jobs aside, like here, you can pretty much start working at 14, 15, 16 and do small jobs. Nobody's going to hire you in Romania. So you're pretty much stuck with whatever your parents are going to give you for until you're like 22, 23. And even at that point, you're not going to be able to move out of your house.
Okay.
You know what I mean? So just economy aside, I mean, it's even, I mean, Europe right now, it's pretty bad with everything that's going on in Europe. There's not one country that's kind of like, economically amazing, but Romania has always been kind of like, rough around the edges, if that makes any sense when it comes to that. But
It's those old, it's all that at deep Eastern Europe, like the
yeah,
ex-Soviet era countries, Romania
yeah.
and
Badly
Hungary and
affected.
Bulgaria.
Yeah,
Ukraine is right there, right?
yeah,
It's a tough culture because it's also
yeah.
it's a tough geography,
Hmm.
right? There's
Yep.
mountains, there's rivers, it's warm, it's cold. Like it's not,
Yeah.
and also to your point, like where it sits geographically, whenever the Russians get the itch to go west, these are the first countries they invade. Whenever the
Pretty
Germans
much.
got the itch to go east, these were the first countries they invaded. So there's that weird,
Pretty
and then you
much.
have down in the south, you have the Turks and the Ottoman Empire,
Yeah.
right? So
Yeah.
whenever somebody got uppity,
Yeah.
you guys were that giant block of Eastern Europe was right in the middle of everybody's way.
Yeah. We're a
It's
target.
it's
Big
like
ass
Poland.
target.
Poland keeps
Yeah.
getting stepped on. It's like, dude, we're in the middle. Can you stop? Like,
Give us a fucking break, man.
right? They
Not
created
totally. Yeah.
Belgium just to keep the French and the Germans from getting at each other.
Yeah. Yep. Yep.
I'm
But
glad.
yeah.
100%.
I'm glad Jay knows his
Yeah.
geography because I don't.
Oh well, yeah.
It's
I'm
amazing, by the
yeah.
way. You impressive.
Well, I can close
Impressive.
my eyes. I can kind of picture it. Again, when you can't sleep at like 3 a.m, I end up in weird places. And plus, what my family is
Yeah.
Czechoslovakian, right? Which
Mhm.
no longer as a country, no longer exists.
Yeah.
There's Slovakia, there's the Czech Republic.
Yeah.
I have a I have a whole pile of books on the breakup of Hungary, right?
Mhm.
Where that became, Bosnia, Herzegovina, and then all the
Yeah.
other different countries that came out of that.
Yeah.
I'm fascinated by that approach of you had these countries that were created, and it goes to the old saying, the map is not the same as the territory,
Mhm.
right? I mean, another perfect example, Tim, in the news, right? You always hear about the Kurds. In the Middle East, you always hear about the Kurds. They geographically are in the southern part of Turkey, the northern part of Iraq, the northeastern part of Syria, right? That's their land. But
Yeah.
we carved out these countries and made maps where the territory doesn't overlap, right?
Yeah.
Ataturk in Turkey, where he basically said, we're all going to be one big people and you all get over to get, it's, European history is really kind of fascinating. Really
It is.
fascinating.
It is. There's a, and yeah, it's very, very, when you go in depth, you can spend a lot of time and there's still a lot to learn. You know what I mean? And
Mhm.
going back, like I left pretty early, so I didn't really get to learn as much as I would about my country in the first place, or Europe in general. But as you kind of grow older, you kind of dive into this stuff and you kind of learn stuff about your country or Europe that you never knew about. Be like, hey, when I was there, but I never could experience those things because, like, for one, I was too young.
Mhm.
I never really had the time to kind of process that. So, but Europe, I mean, it's a gorgeous place. Europe, a gorgeous place, continent, and there's so many beautiful countries, and but again, there's this issue with how close the countries are to one another. That's gonna cause a lot of issues.
Mhm.
You know what I mean? That's the beauty of us here. We're neighbors.
Yeah.
We're not
Yeah.
gonna get into fights because there's so much space between us. I'm not gonna step on your toes, but there you can easily step on somebody's toes,
Yeah.
and stuff is gonna just escalate quickly. But
Oh, is that
yeah.
why bands always say they love touring Europe the most because it's just so easy?
Yeah,
You
you
got
could
it.
do.
You
could do. I
drive.
mean, Texas is the same
Drive.
size as what? France, Germany, and Belgium combined. Like, yeah, and between the trains and the driving, people
Yeah.
don't realize how big, especially because of when you look at a map, the Mercator effect, right, where they stretch things to make it lay out right.
Yeah.
They don't realize how big the States are and how small Europe is. Like, and the other thing is when our Western friends, right, in the States and North America, they look at Europe and they say, well, why do they do this and we do something different? People forget that the countries over here, they're 300 years old.
Yeah.
I mean, France is double that.
Yeah.
I mean, Greece is what, 4 or 5 times that. Italy,
Yeah.
all those Mediterranean countries. I mean, we're a young country. We still, and we're a country that is truly founded by immigrants. And there's the little indigenous culture we have is all out west and kind of sadly herded onto reservations. But it's an interesting human experiment. It's like the weirdest blender, the most insane blender ever.
Yeah, 100%. 100%. That's the thing. And I feel like another thing we're talking about, the difference, space. Huge, huge. I remember I went to New York a couple of years ago and I was just like, I had no place to walk. So many people. It was crazy.
Oh,
and then you move back to Canada and I go for a walk at like 7 p.m. There's nobody in the street. I'm alone. I can talk to myself. I can do whatever I can do. Like I can dance naked in the street. Nobody's going to give a fuck. It's crazy, So it's just like, and Europe is the exact same thing. There's so many people because it's cramped in such a small place.
Yeah.
That it's very hard to have a space for yourself to kind of just, do your stuff. So that's another huge difference. And but at the end of the day is like, for me, it's the beauty of Europe that it's so, once you kind of go and you travel and it's so easy, because you can just drive there. And you go to Spain and you go to Italy and Greece and whatever. It's beautiful because you can see different cultures in a short amount of time. You don't have to take the plane because that kind of breaks everything away from you. And it's beautiful. Like it's a beautiful, beautiful, beautiful continent, but with a lot of issues. Which it happens.
I always say that the best musicians in the world come from Europe. That's in my opinion. Like all my favorite musicians are like Swedish or like Finland or, Norway, all that kind of stuff. All that, that's Europe, right?
Yeah.
So like, but just like everything over there, like a lot of Italian bands I love, like there's just a lot of great musicians that are European.
I think maybe it also has to do with they deal with the arts differently than we do in the United States. Like they have government programs where you can be paid to make your art, right? Like the guys from Rotten Sound actually get paid by the government to make those albums, right? Yeah, like they have government programs where it's support of the arts. Whereas here, America is a little bit more puritanical mercenary, right? Like you got to get yours. And imagine, Tim, if like some of the bands that we like, imagine some of the hardcore bands that they were actually given money to say, look, go and study and learn and I mean, work on your craft, learn the theory.
They wouldn't be hardcore bands.
No, they definitely wouldn't be hardcore bands, right? Like that hardcore would be what they play on the weekends. They're like, yo, I want to turn my brain off. Like imagine the Meshuggah guys trying to play something like Madball or Agnostic Front. Like I would picture Thomas Hake at the drum set, like, what do you mean I'm only going to use 2 drums and an hi-hat? Like, are you fucking kidding me? Like, you'd be bored out of his mind.
Where's my China?
He'd be bored out of his mind.
Yeah.
But I mean, there's a difference when your culture supports it and, you get, even the guys from Ken Mode talk about it in Canada all the time where, we get a stipend, we can apply for grants to make our music. And that's really kind of cool.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, we really like, if you want to start your business here, it's I don't want to say it's easy, but the government will help you, which is a huge plus for somebody that just wants to start something, by yourself. You have an idea or you have a project. I don't know, you're good in IT and you do some coding and you kind of created this whole thing. It's very easy to kind of get something, of course, you're going to need some money to do it, but you're going to get a lot of help financially from the government to kind of put everything in place for you. So no, I totally agree with you. I think that's a great thing. And especially for musicians is like, it's one thing that a lot of people that I guess don't make music, buying an instrument or just doing music, it's fucking expensive.
Yes.
You know what I mean? It's fucking, what are you getting out of it? You're spending $5,000 on your amp, $5,000 on pedals. No. Then you have to get a computer. You have to get an interface. You have to do that. let's say you spend about 20K. You put your album out, you're making 30 cents off of your album. You know what I mean? It's crazy how much the difference between like the effort and the money that you put into something and what you get out of it.
Yeah, the return is shit.
The investment and the return is terrible. Yeah.
Yeah.
And plus you got to pay to put the music online. So
that's
you got to store the shit, right? You got to store the shit somewhere. You got to practice somewhere. Like, I don't think anybody realizes how much it's not easy. It's not easy. So but I also think as great as the internet is for getting stuff out there, as a fan, you almost get overloaded to an extent, right? Like most albums, I'm lucky if I get 2 or 3 listens at them before the next thing.
Yep.
It's almost overwhelming.
Totally
and Tim and I talk about it all the time, Alex. The old days of when you used to spend your allowance on a CD and the CD sucked. You would make yourself like it because you spent money on it. Those days are long gone. Now we're just like 3 songs in. Nope.
I don't like
something
it.
else. Yep.
Or if the intro is like 30 seconds long, skip. It has to be 5 seconds, and the chorus has to hit at 30 seconds or before 1 minute. I think there's a rule about it. We don't have the patience.
Nope.
Just don't have patience anymore. We don't. TikTok, we talked about TikTok in the beginning. That's pretty much what TikTok did, because you have 30-second clips. Where are you going to tell me 30 seconds?
Right.
You're going to, twerk your ass for fucking 30 seconds. And then I'm going to jump on the next thing. Somebody else is going to twerk for 30 seconds. But like in 30 seconds, you don't have time to kind of promote anything, to talk about a subject, to kind of do something. And that's why I appreciate this podcast so much, is that you guys are, for one, you're keeping nu metal alive, because, it's something that it needs to be preserved, but you're giving, chances, like as an artist like myself, to kind of talk about something. If the podcast was on TikTok, you guys would have to do like 30, 45 seconds.
Oh, it'd be terrible.
I would be here. Okay, Alex is here. Hey guys, what's up? Bye. Done.
Next video. Yep.
Next video. What's the next video about? So
you need to grab someone almost immediately. Which is funny you mentioned that, because Tim and I are messing around with putting clips on TikTok, see how it goes. There's a band I recently came across from the UK. Tim is not as big as a fan as I am. A band by the name of October Drift. They play like a grungy shoegaze, almost like Deftones mixed with like Failure, mixed with I don't know, almost like an old grunge band. But I caught them because if you watch them play live, they're all moving.
Okay.
They're all moving and they're swinging guitars around, and I caught it was literally like a 45-second reel on Instagram, and I watched something, and like Tim, I put my phone down. I was doing something else. I looked over and I'm like, who are these guys throwing guitars around? So I turned it off mute, right? Because I have it on mute. And I'm like, oh, this isn't bad. They did it right, but they caught you they did it in 30 seconds. And it made me interested enough that I went like, okay, well, let me check it out on Spotify. Oh, I really like this. But but that also kind of cheapens your art, right? I mean, when you look at some of the black metal we like, or some of the stuff where they do these giant like pieces where
post-rock.
Yeah, how the hell are you going to get that into? Yeah. How are you going to fit Russian circles into a 30-second TikTok? You can't.
Nope.
Impossible. Yeah.
Are you sitting in a studio right now? Like, is that your recording studio?
This is actually my studio. Yeah, this is where I make music. Yeah.
Yeah. I've been looking as we were talking. I'm like, is that like some wood paneling back there with some? Yeah, that looks cool, man.
Yeah. Thank you so much. Yeah, I mean, I did it with my dad. We spent probably a month. And we kind of did everything together, like the panels, and we kind of arranged where the sound would be. I kind of did some tests where the reflections would be in the room, like the whole 2 cents. And we actually, on my right now, I have a booth. Like I created a 7x7 isolated booth within the room. So it's a room within the big room. And that's pretty much, I made it big enough so you can track acoustics. You can actually have 2 people play acoustics at the same time. So it's big enough that you can kind of record. And I mean, it takes a lot of space in the room, but having an isolated room just makes a lot of difference sonically when you kind of mix or you play music in general and stuff like that. So thank you so much. Like it's cool to have it. But once you start a project,
the money just goes flying out the door.
Oh, man,
the money's going out the door.
The time, the space bar, a lot of space bars. We're fucked once again. But once it's done, it's wow. you kind of realize the difference that it makes before and after. So yeah, it's my little man cave.
Yeah, like, and I'm sure you'll know what I'm going to say right here. Like, compared to me and Jay's voices, like, we're both on microphones. You can't see his, but like your voice right now, and you're going to know what I'm talking about. So don't take this as, if you don't take it as offensive, because it's not. But your voice sounds like in the room really dead, because all of your panels are killing everything the way it should. So people listening, that's a good thing.
Yes. No, I was like, oh my God, he sounds so good. We sound like all my
no, you guys
voice
sound
and shit,
amazing. I felt like, trust me, I actually asked my girlfriend to help me test the thing. I was just like, how do I sound? Because I don't want to make a fool out of myself, and because if not, I would just go to the dollar store and just buy a microphone just to kind of test it out. You know what I mean?
No, dude, it sounds perfect in there. Like all the resonance is killed like perfectly. So yeah, dude, you did a great job, man.
Thank you so much.
It's always exciting to get someone on who knows their hardware and knows what they're talking about, because then you're like, when we had Doc Coyle on, he came through in like a 4K picture and his audio is perfect, and it's like, Jesus, like we gotta up our game here.
The only thing is though, when people like you come on, Jay's like, Jesus Christ, here's Tim gonna nerd out with some fucking guitar.
Hey, I may not play, but I can follow the conversation. We've reached the point I can follow the conversation. So let me ask you this, Alex, what's next for you? Right? Like, you said,
literally going to be my next
you've
question.
done this, you've done the piece, you feel happy with it, it's out, it's in the world. Where do you go from here?
More music. I'm kind of in pre-production at the moment for some new stuff. And like I said, like there's 6 songs on the EP, but there's a few B-sides that I just kept them for like a little like backup in case. And I think I'm gonna probably record like a little EP, maybe another project EP album. I'm not sure yet, with some acoustic versions of some of the songs on the EP. And nice. I posted something on YouTube, and a lot of people really wanted to hear Medicaid as an acoustic. So I think that's probably gonna be one of them. That's gonna be there. The B-sides. There's probably gonna be some new songs as well on this project that I'm gonna do. And from there, I mean, again, I would love to, and I think now, because like there's a lot more people kind of getting into the whole thing, I would love to put like a whole band together. That would be kind of something that I will aim for, and kind of start to play shows around, because right now I thought about, I was like, I could probably go with my laptop, play the backing track and just sing over you know what I mean? It's gonna look ridiculous, because like if it was hip hop or rap,
that's
or whatever,
one thing.
It would work, but it's rock music, so it'd be a bit like cheesy to have like one guy in front with a mic.
No. You know why? You know why it wouldn't be cheesy? Because one, it takes balls to do that.
Yeah, it really does take big balls to do it.
Number two, you have the talent, so it doesn't matter.
Yeah, well, that's the other thing. The talent will overweigh the.
But at the same time, if you were to do that, can you play guitar and sing at the same time?
Yeah. I mean, there's some. Yeah, that would probably work. And just have the back. I mean, there's some songs they're probably a bit harder to kind of do that at the same time. There's some more complicated stuff, but for the most part, I mean, some songs, Medicaid, for example, I played that on the ukulele. That's how the riff happened.
Oh shit! Okay.
That's how that whole song, the chorus, the intro riff, that was a ukulele that I had in my living room. It was dusty. And I think probably drunk, close to being drunk or drunk. And I picked it up and I was like, what the fuck is this? I never knew that I bought this. And it was probably like a $15 ukulele. And I kind of started to mess around with that riff. And I was just like, that actually sounds pretty cool. If I put that into a drop C sharp, let's see how it sounds. So I was kind of playing that whole thing and singing at the same time. So pretty much most of the songs on the EP kind of came like that. Me kind of playing the riff, trying different vocal ideas until I kind of got it both synced in, and then I would just like track the guitars, then do the vocals, and the whole thing afterwards. So definitely, like, I'll probably have to play guitar and sing live for sure, with another probably lead guitar player that can kind of do all the ambient stuff and whatnot. But definitely I would love to. So that's definitely in the future. If I can get against some people that would love to push the boundaries around my area. If not, we'll see. I'm just gonna hire some hitmen and ask them to play my band, I guess. Yeah,
dude, I'll tell you what too. the highlight, you picked the perfect way to put this track listing together, because the chorus of "If Only," I don't know if it's if you consider it the chorus, but when you're saying "If Only," I don't know what you're saying because I
Yeah,
don't know
yeah,
the
yeah,
lyrics.
yeah.
Dude, that chorus is absolutely fucking beautiful. And
Thank you
that's what
so much.
fucking, as soon as I heard that, I was like, hold on a fucking second, dude. And that's what made me
Thank you.
rewind it. Cause dude,
Yeah.
that is an amazing song, dude. Like
Thank you.
the
Thank you so
chops,
much.
man, are there, dude. So seriously, like
Yeah.
again, I'm gonna keep saying, be fucking proud, dude.
Thank you so much. Appreciate it. I like I said, for me it was a pleasure, and I did it as a fan of new metal. That was kind of my first thing. I had my things that I had to kind of get off my chest, but I love new metal, and I kind of want to preserve, like you guys. I want to preserve new metal. I want to keep it alive. I was just like, if ever I can add something to the new metal thing, I'll fucking do it. It's probably not gonna sound like the most amazing thing ever, but I will try to put my best into it and make a project that, if you play it, you kind of you're gonna get that new metal feeling, like you said, without being too much, like a Limp Bizkit or a Cold Chamber or your Colds or your Stains or your Steppas or your Nothing Faces, whatever. It's just gonna be something that's different, but it's still gonna sound like the old stuff that you used to listen to back in the day that you can kind of relate to.
Yeah.
And it's something, as a fan of new metal, it's something that I would play. For example, I would put on and be like, I kind of, this takes me back. There's something about this that kind of takes me back. So I did it as a fan, mostly. That was my first thing. I was like, I'm a fan of new metal. I'm going to put a project together that's hopefully is going to sound like that and that people might enjoy, And also I did it for myself, as selfish as that sounds. I was like, I'm going to do it. I'm going to do something that I like. If people like it, that's good. If not, I'm okay with that as well. You know what I mean? So
Is the
that was
first
it,
track on the record the first track that you wrote for it?
No, I think the last one. And that's funny because the last one, it's an acoustic.
Yeah. Well,
Song.
dude, that's a
Yeah.
perfect closer for that record. But it
Yeah.
sounds like on If Only
Yeah.
that was the song where you really got it all out on, because that
Yeah.
song is like super powerful.
It's a hell of an
dude.
opener. Yeah.
It's super powerful, man.
Thank you.
Like
That was
when you
probably the
listen
second
to
one
it, dude.
that I
Yeah,
did.
when I listen to that song, man, I'm like, wow, dude, like you could really hear the emotion in that track, dude. That's what catches me in your music, man. It's like it's there, dude. Like you're not phoning it in, man. And that's the kind of music these days that will catch me. Like we talked about earlier, like the shit that's phoned in where it's like the same mosh part and the same fucking 5/8/7 metalcore riff. I'm just like, I've heard it so many times. I don't need to hear it anymore.
Yeah.
But this stuff, dude, seriously, man, you really got something special going on, dude.
Thank you so much. And again, subject matter too, I tried to, like I said, like the reason why I was not able to call the album a concept is because there's songs like Deliverance that's about religion in the in the big scheme of things. But then you have the third track, Sigid, which is actually the name of an orphanage that was back in the late 80s in Romania during the communist era.
Okay.
Ah, okay.
And yeah, so that's actually there's a place where families would just throw their handicapped kids or kids that have mental issues in the. I mean, if you guys again, if ever you kind of type the name of that song on Google Images, you're gonna see some fucked up shit. That's how kids were treated that had mental issues or that were handicapped in Romania back in that era until the 90s when the U.S. kind of came and they kind of did some interviews and they kind of came and the whole thing kind of blew up because nobody in Romania knew that existed, because like those orphanages were in the middle of a forest that nobody would ever gonna go there. You know what I mean? So a lot of Romanians didn't know that those existed until after the Ceausescu kind of, he got shot and the whole thing kind of ended. So that song is about that in the first place. So there's a few different songs that kind of, the emotion that's I think that's where the emotion kind of came in the first place is about those subjects that kind of you don't have a choice but to put emotion when you kind of talk about the subjects in the first place.
I was going to say, when you brought up Ceausescu, like that's the one. I mean, from remembering history in grammar school, that was the one thing we were taught. It was 89. It was the fall of the Berlin Wall. It was the Soviet Union starting to fall apart, and it was Ceausescu being whisked away with his wife by helicopter, and then was it Christmas Day? They got rid of him Christmas Day. So again, it was. I just Googled that. Man, that is really dark. It is really dark.
Yeah, so if you go back to the lyrics, that's kind of how I got inspired. I mean, when I was writing the lyrics, actually, I was watching footage as I was writing the lyrics to get inspired, and I cried.
Yeah, that's
Like
tough.
I broke down, man. I broke down. I was like, this song, this is how I feel about this song. I'm just gonna go track it. And I think I tracked it not long after I kind of broke down. I was like, now that I feel like that, maybe I can transfer all that pain and sadness into that song, because again, it's stuff that we don't really talk about, if that
Right.
makes any sense. So I was like, if I can put that into a song, maybe more people can relate to, not necessarily people that were in that orphanage and that survived, but people that are in different orphanages that probably suffered the same shit. You know
Yeah.
what I mean?
Yeah,
So
that was that's really, I was just looking, I'm like, that's really dark. But there's a lot of that,
Yeah.
but there's a lot of that dark history from the
Mhm.
countries that when the wall went up, when the Iron Curtain went up, all
Yeah.
those countries that were behind the line, there was
Yeah.
a lot of really
Yeah.
unappetizing stuff being done,
Mhm.
right? All those
Yeah.
rough, I mean, Yugoslavia and all that. It was
It was
rough.
dark. It was
It was
dark. Yeah.
really dark.
It was
And
dark. Yeah.
and then the wall comes down, and overnight, I mean, people don't realize now. There's always talks of like, well, what if we reunify North and South Korea, or what if we unify, North Ireland and Ireland? People don't realize the economic. It wasn't a disaster, but it was actually almost a miracle that they made it work.
Yeah.
When that wall comes down, and you have to munch two different populations, two different cultures, ways of life.
Yeah.
That's a collision that is almost unmanageable. Almost unmanageable.
100%. 100%.
Man, we've turned into Dan Snow's hardcore history hit tonight, man. I'm like, geez, we should call him up. Like, we should get him on and ask him about stuff. So I think we're quickly running out of time, Alex. So and I want to be take care of everybody's time. So this is the work night. Where can people find you if they want to get more information? They want to follow you, know what's coming up. Where do they go?
YouTube, Facebook, Spotify, Bandcamp, Instagram, all your social media stuff. I'm probably not the biggest. I'm getting into it because again, I don't really have a choice. One thing that I do is that I reply to everybody, and I try to, at least if I can. Like I go into videos and I reply to everybody, and I try to kind of answer as many questions as I can. So that's something that I do. I try to engage as much as I can. So if anybody has any questions about anything, just reach out to me. But all your social media, Ashes Like Rain, pretty much Ashes Like Rain. There's no crazy spelling. It's pretty much the standard. And that's pretty much it. So pretty much everywhere that everybody knows, apart from TikTok. I have to jump on TikTok. I'm gonna make a TikTok. I'm not sure what the fuck I'm gonna post on TikTok. Probably me twerking. That's it. Me twerking.
30 seconds. 30 seconds.
30 seconds. Ashes Like Rain twerking. On If Only. I'll play the chorus of If Only, and I'm probably gonna try to twerk on that. That would be amazing.
Hell yeah, man.
That's awesome. That's awesome. All right. So I want to thank on behalf of Tim and I, Alex, we really want to thank you for coming on. This has been a really awesome conversation.
Thank you so much.
Hopefully the first of many. On behalf of myself, Alex, and Tim, I want to thank all of you for tuning in, watching, listening once again. Find us at newbreed_podcast, Twitter and Instagram, newbreedpodcast@gmail.com. You can find us on our Facebook group. Find us on r/numetal. Once again, we want to thank Alex. Check out Ashes Like Rain. We're going to put some links in the show notes. And until next time, this is the New Breed Podcast saying peace.
Later.
Rock on, guys. Take care. Thank you.